great as always.
I know. You're so sweet. Well, I'm here today on Dominate Your Day with Diana Mao Kelly, and we were just catching up. Diana, you've gotten married, you've had a baby, all this since I met you during COVID, and I just would love you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell a little bit about what you do, because I think you have a powerful story of helping women who have been sex trafficked. Yeah, so tell
Mhm.
tell us tell
Yeah.
the audience who are difference makers just like you about what you do.
So, yeah, definitely so great to be here today. Diana Mao Kelly, the co-founder and president of Nomi Network. What that means in reality is that I get to bring together incredible women and men to be the network behind survivors of human trafficking and those at risk of human trafficking to help them um, gain economic independence and, in essence, be their network of support.
So, what inspired you, Diana, to dedicate your life to ending this human trafficking? And can you share kind of a pivotal moment? I think it was in Cambodia. That was it Cambodia or was it
Hmm.
India that changed everything for
Good
you?
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, great memory. It was Cambodia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I in my early 20s, I was getting my master's at NYU, and I took a summer job working for a microfinance bank where I was charged with spending about 3 months in Cambodia. Basically, at the end of the summer, I was charged with making recommendations on how they can improve services for their microfinance loan clients. So that brought me to all over Cambodia. And so, in a more rural area where I had to take a car, a moped, and walk through, muck, leach infested muck. We reached a community that was receiving microfinance loans, and it was there that a client, he was a loan recipient, had about 7 children, and after we surveyed him, he offered my male colleague his youngest daughter. You like her, you take her. And so that was really heartbreaking because I could see that they were living in very very harsh conditions. They were all sleeping on the floor. They basically had about rice to eat. It was very low yield farming time, so their intake was about rice, bowl of rice per day. And so just really interviewing them and hearing about the huge challenges he faced from losing his wife
Mm.
to a disease just broke my heart. And I thought to myself, someone's economic condition and where they were born, the community they were born into, shouldn't be the reason why they're trafficked. And so the reason why there is a correlation with trafficking is because in Cambodia during that time in 2007, you could literally walk on the street and see a child being trafficked in hotels, at bars. So it was very conspicuous back then. And so I really connected the dots and decided I wanted to investigate and put my time and resources to making a difference in this area.
And that was a brave step because you were in consulting then. And so, what gave you that courage and clarity to walk away from a stable kind of opportunity to pursue this calling? Was there something that was it just a drive, or how did you know that that this could happen?
Yeah, I just had this itty bitty voice in me that said I had to do it. I just met so many girls in Cambodia that I made eye contact with, that I knew they were in desperate circumstances and that I wanted to help. And I, for a moment, put myself in their shoes. And then I was at my corporate job, sitting at my desk, like, what is the worst that can happen? If I quit my job, like I have a really strong safety net, like can go and stay with my parents, in my 20s, just thinking, what is the worst case scenario versus if I don't do anything? And if
Mm.
I were in her circumstances in the village, what would my options be? So really, I feel that at that point I had nothing to lose. On top of that, when I resigned from my job in corporate, a consulting firm based in DC, one of the partners was like, if that doesn't work out, if your pet project doesn't work out, you can always come back. So really, again, I had to give it a shot, right? Like the worst
Yeah.
case scenario is it doesn't work. and I go back to my consulting job and continue to, advance in that career. So at that point, I just took the plunge and quit my job in May 2012.
Wow. So 13 years in, here we are. And was it the young girl that was the daughter of that man, or who was Nomi, and how did you name the
Mm,
organization Nomi's Network?
that's a great question. So the following year, after I finished my master's, I met a friend
Mhm.
at church who was really passionate about anti-trafficking. And I had this crazy idea. It was like, at the gathering with her, I'm like, hey, do you want to go back to Cambodia with me? I'm thinking about going back in the summertime and meeting with anti-trafficking organizations there to see what the needs are. Simply, I wanted to volunteer, wanted to help. And so she was really excited and she was like, yeah, let's go. So we packed up our bags in the summer and booked a flight to Cambodia, stayed there for 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
There, we went to an underage shelter where there were girls as young as 5 years old who had been trafficked. And
Mm.
it was really heartbreaking, but you could tell who were the girls that were there for a year plus and who were the girls that had just entered the shelter. So Nomi had already been there for a year. When I met her, she was 8 years old and she ran to us. She could tell we were not from Cambodia. And her shelter director was taking us on a tour at the time, and she proceeded to divert us towards her pet rabbits.
Oh,
She wanted to show us her pet rabbits, and we just really fell in love with her spirit, her hope, and her resilience. So we decided to name the organization after her.
wow. Have you kept up with her? Have you seen her?
Yes.
How's she doing?
Yes, I've kept up with her every year. I would visit her at her shelter, and during COVID, her shelter had to shut down their long-term unit, sadly. But it was the right timing to reunite her with her mother, her biological mother, and so they now live relatively close to one of our offices. So they visit our office. Our
So
office
great.
staff continue to support her and her reintegration out of that shelter as well. So yes, and I just saw her last year in Cambodia.
That is so, how old is she? Well, I guess she's probably 20 something right now, or 20.
Yeah, she's in her 20s, like mid
Yeah,
20s. Yeah, yeah.
that is
But
amazing.
she still looks, just she has a mental disability, so she's still in many ways acts has the mind of a child. So
Mhm.
she is has some disabilities that we help her navigate through.
So here you are, 13 years later, and you've reached over, is it 23,000 women? I know it's a lot. Um, and girl,
27 now.
27. Wow. So what impact stories have moved you the most since you met Nomi and you've started this whole network, as you've helped these women get into jobs and
Yeah.
get out of the trafficking?
There's so many stories that move me from seeing women that we serve be able to show me their bank account and say that they're sending their daughters to school, buying them clothes, being able to purchase, everyday things that we take for granted for their children in rural India. To most recently, reading about one of our clients who was able to, through our training, like secure a job at a manufacturing facility and really focus on getting her daughter back to school as opposed to a very vulnerable situation. And so the generational effect of that is really powerful of women choosing to support the next generation and breaking the vicious cycle, and how it's really relevant to me as I had the privilege of meeting Nomi's mom more, getting to know her more. I had
Mm.
met her years ago, but last year I met her and had one-on-one coffee with her. And so we were talking, and she was kind of joking around, saying I'm old, and I the natural question is, how old are you? And I
Mhm.
asked, her that during coffee, and she's like, I don't know. I was an orphan when I was 4 years old
Mm,
because of the genocide. So the
okay.
genocide that took place in Cambodia. So that really shook me and actually convicted my heart, because all along when I found out about Nomi's story, um, back in 2008, I had learned her mom had allowed her stepfather to traffic her, allowed, right? And
Mm,
so I had really mixed feelings towards her mother. And then
mm,
that clarifying moment was like literally, I almost cried. I was so like touched. And also,
mm,
it showed me the complexity of the issue and the
mhm,
complexity of trauma as well. But it also gave me hope. Her mom now is living with her, and the stepfather is totally out of the picture for a decade already, and they're rebuilding their lives together. And that's what I see happening across the board with all of our clients, is that they are rebuilding their lives. They are um, repairing their homes, moving out of a hut type situation to a more stable, concrete home because of their earnings. And so I really believe in the power of just harnessing that talent. Even
mhm.
though women, some of them don't even have second grade education in our program, we're able to see that transformation happen through the investments that we've made later on in their lives.
I know you've done a lot of work in Washington and New York and all around the United States. You've moved your offices here to Dallas, and you're also in India as well as Cambodia. So tell me, what is the aim of human trafficking and what you're doing? What approach is different from the other anti-human trafficking efforts that we see? What do you do differently? What does your organization do uniquely?
Yeah, so I'll share what our largest corporate donor told us, that we are the only organization that is focused on and has success in workforce development for survivors at scale. So, in
Mm,
other words, every year we're able to train and employ about thousands of women and get over 4,000 into our training pipeline. And most anti-trafficking organizations, they don't necessarily target this effort. So the numbers you see, that data that they report, is about 120 women served. A lot of it is through social services, and that's really important. But because we're laser focused since our genesis around the reentry and workforce development, we've developed really strong assets, curriculum, um, job placement processes to get women into more of the formal sector. And then, most importantly, we've trained employers of how to be more trauma informed so that they can retain
mm,
particularly individuals that have PTSD, individuals that have trauma, so that they can retain them in the workplace. So we really have that pipeline, and we've established that pipeline in last mile communities. Last mile is a term that is used in international development of very under-resourced communities
mm,
in India or Cambodia that have lack of potable water, electricity, infrastructure. So we, in essence, are like a rail, railroad pathway to
mm.
those communities to get them jobs and to get them economic opportunities. And so we also do that similarly in the US. We started in late 2020, officially 2021 in Dallas, and now Houston. And we also work with last mile communities in the sense that the individuals we work with are in systems like juvenile detention, aging out of foster care, or survivors of human trafficking. But those systems are actually sadly, have individuals that already have high cases of exploitation or human trafficking. So a lot of the girls, particularly in juvenile detention, we know that they also have background of being trafficked or being prostituted.
And that is, I think that was when I went to one of your events here and heard these women and how successful they are becoming now because of the programs you guys have put in place. I had no idea this was going on right under our our roof, right under in the Texas. And I know last time we talked, it was during the middle of COVID, and I think this whole human trafficking thing was growing. And I think the hard thing during COVID was probably reaching out to getting all those, connecting all those people. And now we've kind of gone through that. And what are you seeing as far as growth right now in this area? Has it stopped, or is it still growing pretty steadily of human trafficking?
Sadly, it's getting worse, in my opinion. There is actually a trend now of specifically youth that are in more resource communities getting trafficked. And specifically, online grooming has exploded. So, I actually have a dear friend's niece whose friend was groomed online through Roblox. It's a game. And basically, she decided at the age of 15 to go meet her online gaming friend at a park and disappeared for weeks.
Uh,
Thank God she was found. The family hired experts because the current system, law enforcement, is really backlogged. There's in Vegas alone, I believe there's like 20,000 cases, cyber cases that simply don't go processed. There's not enough resources internally in these departments to process those cases. And
mm,
so I'm seeing exponential growth right now through technology and AI of youth, boys and girls actually getting trafficked that are in communities that are affluent, like the Bay Area, like my friend,
mm.
and other areas as well. And even Dallas, I had a mom actually report to me that her daughter was getting groomed by her daughter's friend at a very prestigious private school in Dallas. So yeah, I was becoming more ubiquitous, sadly, and the anti-trafficking community is really catching up. But the criminal network is a lot faster at acquiring tools and resources because it is a lucrative business. According to NASDAQ, like $346 billion was generated last year through scamming, through the different scamming, the text messages you get about paying a toll that doesn't exist, right? We've all
Right.
probably gotten those,
Yes.
and the likelihood of that being actually a trafficker or a criminal network is actually pretty high if you connect the dots and map out the scam centers that are being operated currently.
That is so scary. So, how do you see Nomi Network right now, transitioning with all this? And as you developed what you've been developing, your focus around and helping these women and now men get into the workplace, what are you seeing for the future? And you said you just got through doing your planning, strategic planning. So, what is on your mind and your heart as a co-founder of Nomi Network, and where do you see it going right now in the future?
Yeah, so when I started Nomi Network, the anti-trafficking community was really big on this was like 15 years ago, more or less, when the idea started. The
Mm-hmm.
anti-trafficking community was really just raising awareness. We had people that were hosting screenings, putting together documentaries, and the awareness is really key because general public did not know what human trafficking was. And
Right.
so they're like, it exists. I didn't even know. And so this was 15 years ago. Now we've made immense progress in the United States and globally in terms of awareness, I would say.
Yeah.
And so we've been double clicking on survivor services, and we've done a really incredible job at the model that we've built. So we're going to continue to scale that model because ultimately survivors and vulnerable communities need economic choices in order so that they don't make desperate choices.
Mm,
Desperation is a breeding ground for human trafficking.
mm,
The next layer is deception. So, what I'm finding is that because of the lack of awareness about scamming, about online grooming, right now, it's almost like there needs to be a new wave of
mm,
awareness, right?
mhm.
And education. So that
Yes.
people like you and I both have children, we are aware, like they
Yeah.
are aware. We know how to protect and create safety, because frankly, the private sector doesn't really have a mandate to do that, right? To
Mm,
make sure your child is safe. They're
mm,
just releasing the game. They're trying to make as much money as possible by usership, and they're doing a great job. Roblox is a very lucrative company, right? What is the mandate for them to go ahead and set safety guardrails so that pedophiles, by the way, 500,000 pedophiles, according to Tim Debo, are on these online gaming every day? Well,
gosh.
according to Tim Tebow's data, right, that he shared with us 2 weeks ago when we were at a conference with him. Now, imagine those numbers. Like, there is no real mandate for the private sector. So that's where organizations like Nomi are stepping up to provide that education and awareness, particularly around child safety and prevention.
Mm. That is so good. I mean, it's just you've evolved with the culture. I mean, it started in Cambodia, but then look at all the things you're doing. So, as a leader, your personal growth and sustaining this mission, what do you think has helped you keep committed when the work feels heavy? I mean, it probably feels heavy a lot, whether you're in Cambodia or here in the States, listening to a mom of a daughter that's just been sex trafficked. I mean, what is it that keeps you going? And it could be in your strengths and your core values. Love to hear what that is that's keeping you going in that and keeping resilient during this time.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I definitely would say it's the clients that I have met personally over the past 15 years. And now, I'm traveling less abroad. So every Friday or weekend, I'm reading case studies about our clients and their progress. That inspires me and keeps me going. And then also, I, have a deep faith that I
Mhm,
can only do so, but there is a higher power, God, that brings
mhm,
everything to completion. So that actually gives me great peace, that I can focus on my part and not feel like I have to solve the entire issue, because it's a very big issue. And then third is community. Community is really important to me. I have a really close group of girlfriends and guy friends actually that I confide in, mentors that support me and also that I support. And so that community is really important. Particularly women that also have their own ventures, are not for profits,
mm.
are ones that I'm close friends with.
I love that. I remember I was at one of the conferences and I met this gal and she said, "Oh, I'm one of Nomi's friend or one of Diana's friends and I just pray for her and I'm here praying for her." And I was like, "Wow, what a great friend." But it
Yeah.
was so neat to meet all of the people that you all have connected with and how you've even built Nomi Network here in Dallas, and I know in other locations. So in corporates, you have really made headway in raising a lot of money to help get the word out. And what do you think that is, Diana, in your talents, in your core values that is helping you? Because it's hard. It's hard to ask for money. It's hard to go and do all of those things. Your relator talents are really kind of driving a lot of this, but what do you feel has helped you in that realm?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I think over the years, as I have, I'm definitely a learner. So even though I've been in the field for 15 years, I'm constantly learning. And
Mhm,
so that posture of being inquisitive, especially learning together with our funding partners, is
mm,
something that I feel has definitely advanced us. And then also being very purpose driven, I would say,
mm,
in the work, and having a background from corporations as well, working for a corporation, like understanding that there are different motivations of why different people get involved. And my role and Nomi's role is to find that bridge. What is the entry point of engagement? Like, why
mhm,
do they want to engage on this issue, and how will it further their objectives, whether it's their corporate engagement objectives, whether it's their philanthropic objectives, or whether it's really there's other means of alignment. And so
mhm,
that's something that I feel, coming from the private sector, coupled with my purpose driven values, has
Mhm.
really helped catapult us.
I like how you have significance working for something bigger than yourself, and you've also got input, which is that research. When you said you were studying the case studies and how you're using strengths to help, that probably gives you a lot of energy to read through those and to hear what these women are doing now. And so, what would be your advice for people who want to give back and they want to be generous and they kind of feel kind, but they're not sure and how what would be the advice that you would give somebody else of the results of doing this work, of doing the work that nobody else would have thought of? You know, you just saw the need and you filled it. What would you encourage them to do right now?
Yeah, I probably would go back to like what you mentioned, like how do I continue the work that I do? How do I remain positive and hopeful? I do believe community is really important. So if there's an issue that is really pressing on your heart, then I would
Mhm.
encourage trying to find other people, in community that also care about it. And that's kind of how I started my journey. Is I found my two co-founders that were equally as passionate and all had different strengths, strength
Mhm.
finders, all have different
Mhm.
talents and expertise. And so bringing those people together, I would say distinguishing between whether or not you're a doer or a sower. Sower is someone sowing seeds, sowing money, sowing
Mhm.
resources. Doers are like me and my team doing the work, So really reflecting and determining once you have that issue that's pressing on your heart, really, am I going to actually build something, volunteer, or am I going to give a resource, donate a book, donate clothing, et cetera, right? There's a lot of things you can give. So I would
Mhm.
say that would be my advice.
When you were standing in the White House speaking and even at the UN about your work, did you ever think it would take you there? This work that you've done. I mean, you're so humble and yet you've been out as a great spokesperson for human trafficking. But was that a moment when you went, wow, I guess this is what I was made to do? And here I am representing this organization and talking about this? Or what was going on in your mind during that time?
Honestly, I even though I public speak a lot, you're so you're so kind. I hate public speaking. I always get nervous, like I think most people. So I actually don't even think about it. I just feel like I am the mouthpiece um, for amazing people that we serve that don't have that platform.
Mm,
So our clients, they have so much more expertise, knowledge to share what their needs are, and they don't have that platform. And I, through Nomi Network, whenever I'm given these platforms, I honestly don't think about it once I pass the stage fright part. I'm like, this is what needs to happen. So the activator in me comes out. I'm like, I need to activate these people to take action, right? So I would say, yeah, that is that's my perspective on that in terms of me being, in essence, that vehicle, one of the vehicles. And for me now, it's really like so many people on my team can speak so much about Nomi. So it's really training and raising up the next generation. And I have so many
mm.
colleagues now that speak at these different forums on behalf of Nomi, which really excites me because I'm like
That's
um,
exciting.
replicating that.
That is, and and I think you're so humble, but I think it's your mission. And it goes back to that significance, being a part of something bigger than yourself, which causes to say, okay, we're going to get through the stage fright, we're going to get through all this, but we're going to get the message out there and get these people involved. So, as we get ready to close out, Diana, is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to share as we get ready to close out about how people can get involved, even whether it's Nomi Network or something else in their community? This whole month, we're talking about generosity and how to give back and how it really serves us. We know it's one of the 5 areas of well-being is being involved in your community and doing something. And so many people don't feel like they are qualified to do something, but you just jumped right out there and did it. So, anything you would share as we get ready to close out that you want to make sure our listeners hear?
Yeah, I really just believe in the power of just stepping out and doing something. My co-founder just got back from India. She was sharing how our very first group of trainees in India back in 2012, like what they're up to, because she caught up with them,
Yeah.
and they're giving back. Some of them have advanced and moved out of a more under-resourced community and was able to move into a bigger city. um, they still travel once a week back to the rural community to mentor and encourage some of our second, third cohort trainees in that region. So
Wow.
that's the power of giving back, is that who can you lift up? It doesn't matter if you have $5 or $5 million, right? Like,
Mhm.
you have something to offer, whether it's your advice, your expertise, or simply encouragement. Like, the women have gone through Nomi's program and graduated, and now they're going back trying to lift up the next few generations in that region. And so that's really powerful. And I would encourage everybody to do that. And then, of course, with nonprofits, especially during the holiday season, nonprofits are currently undergoing a lot of contraction. A lot of organizations in our field have shut down.
Mm.
Large organizations that you and I recognize have laid off like 40% of their staff, lost, $400 million from the action. So those are larger institutions. And so you can imagine your local nonprofit, what kind of
Mm.
contraction or challenges they may be going through. So I would say definitely, if you can donate to your local charity, especially during the holiday season.
I think that's great. And how can people find out more about Nomi Network and how to help Nomi Network? What is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, the best way is to sign up for our newsletter at nominetwork.org. We have opportunities to volunteer. We have 42 training sites across 3 countries. And so, particular US programs, we have opportunities to engage either virtually or in person in some cases. And also just needs, like professional books and professional clothing. And so, those types of more donation, in-kind donation needs as well.
That's great. I didn't even know some of that. So I'm going to definitely check that out. And I love getting
Yeah.
information from you guys whenever you're doing programs and being able to hear and help support. And one of my favorite things to do, we started doing 4 years ago, is just give a proceeds from the sale of the Strengths Journal to you guys. And so that's been kind of fun every month to share that with you. But yeah, figure out what really gets you excited and go serve and check out Nomi Network. And amazing, amazing what you've started. I can't believe it's been 13 years. So congratulations. And yes, we will make sure we get the word out so people can help serve and help get out there. So thank you, Diana, for being with us
Thank
today and sharing
you.
your heart and your talent. It has been
Thank
fun.
you.
So
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for your support over the years. I feel
yeah.
like you are one of our key supporters since we
Oh,
started in the US in late 2020. So it's incredible to see over the past 5 years how we've grown our US programming with supporters and partners like you. So thank you.
thank you. Thank you. All right. We'll see you guys next week. And thanks again, Diana.
Yes, take care.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get this. Hold on. There we